Hi everybody, Jo here again. Thanks so much for popping in. As always, lovely to spend time with you. So, I hope you're feeling okay today. If not, well, maybe you need a big group hug. So let's all get together, give you that big group hug before we start. Now, today we're going to be looking at making condolence cards, or cards for somebody that's just a bit under the weather. A few of you have been in touch and asked specifically, specifically for cards that can be sent for condolence or sympathy cards. So what I thought I'd do is come along with some ideas that you can mix up a little bit. And so I've made a few samples and I thought we'd just sort of have a chat about them, and then I'll get on and show you how I've created a couple of them. So I hope that's okay. That's my plan. And what I thought I'd do is what I tend to do for things like sympathy cards is I make my toppers beforehand and have a few in stock, only because unfortunately when we need these cards we're often feeling upset, vulnerable, and that's often not the best time to craft. That can be when Mr. Mojo disappears, and that's when we struggle. So what I tend to do is I have some offcuts here, and I save, as you know, every little bit of card. And I know a few of you have been in touch and said you're just like me. Now, the size I've gone for is a 5" by 3". But obviously you can have a look at your card and see what sort of sizes you need to use up, because it's a great way of using them up. So all these designs that I'm going to show you have been done on a piece of card 5 by 3". And the other thing with this size is, as you can see, I put these two here. This is an A6 card. So if you send A6 cards, it fits perfectly, look. This is a 6 by 6 card blank. So again, it can put on a 6 by 6. So you can use whichever you want to. This one, now, again, if you've got this, it's a lovely stamp. It's one of my older stamps and it's called the Weeping Willow Tree. And I think that is perfect. Now, it could be you want to mix this up and you want a card for a male, change the colour, maybe some browns, add some birds. You know, like I say, let your imagination run riot. For this one, I've used the meadow grass. I just need to double check it is the meadow. No, it's the bulrushes. You know what I'm like? Right, so that's the bulrushes. And this one, I've used the lovely Sahara colour, and I've stamped directly on this one. So I'll show you a couple more and then we'll have some fun. So we have one here with the meadow grass. That's why it was in my mind, you see, I knew I'd used it. This one, I've gone for Della Blue in the background, but I've added some water splats. So you can mix it up a little bit. I mean, I like those in the background. I just feel it shows a little bit more movement and emotion for me, but everybody's different. And again, it might be you don't like them. Pop that one there. This one is lovely. I think I'll probably demo this one. I love this. And this is the blossom tree. And again, there's no sentiment on this one. And this one I've used graphite. The next one is the garden poppy. Now again, I'm thinking maybe something more towards a lady, as opposed to the trees I tend to use more for males. And again, I'm not generalising, this is just me. But so I looked in my stash and I looked for a stamp that I thought would be lovely for one of my female friends that needed a condolence card. And this one, I've gone for the lovely purple colour. So again, as you see, you can mix it up. And this one, it's the violet chalk, and I've added a few little splats of the violet chalk, ink and water just in the background. And then lastly, I've used the forest leaf. Now this one, I've left just black. So again, if I bring this card and envelope, I mean, I think sometimes just black and white is perfect, monochrome, and you could add your sentiment. Now, again, I stamp all my sentiments. When I've got, again, you know what I'm like, keeping all my little offcuts, and then I have this lovely little tin. And these tins are found in the storage section. Got my little sticker on, look, craft stash. So it might be with this one, it might be for somebody who is a friend but not a close friend, and I find out that they've suffered a loss. Maybe they've even lost a pet. So maybe I would just edge the just for you and pop it there and just send it monochromatic like that. Like I say, for me, it's all about just giving you lots of ideas. And the last little one I want to show you is the forest leaf, but I've added some colour. So this one I've just added Madella blue and then a little bit of black pastel pencil just to give a little bit of depth look. So again, if I bring this one in, pop that over there, that again would make a lovely card, wouldn't it? So, like I say, for me, I tend to make a variety of these toppers, keep them all in a little cellophane bag, and then when I need a card, I can look for which one I think will be appropriate. And I find it just works well. Because like I say, I'm often, when I need to make a card for this occasion, I'm not feeling the best. So what I tend to do is, as I say, I've got myself all these cut and I add my black line around the outside first. Now, I've told you before, I have a piece of paper, look, and yes, I do keep the same piece of paper. And I like to do this at the beginning. I've mentioned this before, because if I don't, just take my pen, look, drag it down the side of the card, turn it round, piece of kitchen roll, just because I don't want to get dirty finger marks on my card. And also, I feel it makes me put pressure on the card and have less chance of that pen whizzing across. I did do a workshop recently and I mentioned this, and a lot of the ladies did it at the beginning, but a couple left did it at the end and they went, no, it's fine, it's always worked. And you know what happens? You can guarantee they get onto the last one, it whizzes across and it spoils the design. Right, I'm going to move that. I'm going to keep that because I will keep using it. So what I tend to do when I'm creating these designs is, first of all, I decide on my VersaFine Clair. Two colours I like to use for this, either the Nocturne or the Morning Mist. Now, it might be you feel black is a bit harsh, so in that case, go for the Nocturne. The Morning Mist, sorry. I was thinking, so one of these to show you the difference, there we go. So this is your Nocturne, the black, and this has been stamped in the Morning Mist. So as you can see, it's just that more subtle. You could use second generation if you wish. So what I tend to do is I'm going to go for black for my first one, and then I'll look through my stamps. And I think the first one we'll do is we'll use the Bulrushes. I love this stamp. Great for men's cards in general, but for me it's got a lovely feel about it for condolence cards. I batch card make these for my local church, and then I just take them, pop them along, leave them in the office, and then they sell them and it gives them funds. But I find, especially ones with the bulrushes and the meadow grass, they are very popular. So I'm just going to stamp a couple. I think I'll alter the height. I think I'll go for a higher one there. And then maybe just another one there. Got something on my stamp, look. If ever that happens, look, you see that there? Can you see? If I look, just got something on my stamp there. Probably a piece of glitter. I'm just going to give it a wipe with a wet cloth, and then, or a damp cloth I should say, and then give it a rub with my Inky Binky, and that'll get rid of it. So that'll be fine. And it won't matter, we can soon get rid of it on there, nobody will notice. So we'll give that a blot. Always like to blot. And then for this one, as I say, with my Element inks, I've got quite a few colours out. The Della Blue works beautifully, the Graphite. But I'm thinking for this one, I'm going to go for the Sahara. I did love it when I did it in the Sahara. And for me, when my dad passed away, we had his sunrise and his sunset, and I loved that. That to me, it just helped me cope with it. So the Sahara just reminds me of that, and this for me is a sunset card. So I'm going to put my moon mask on. But again, it's like this, it's totally your choice. You can, depends how you feel. And I like the Sahara because it's almost like a sort of a yellowy brown. And what's nice about that is it's not a bright yellow. So I'm just thinking where I'm going to have I like the sun just sort of offset. Actually, I think I might just put it there. So just going to do some nice gentle. I know we start at the bottom first. But the good thing about these cards is I think if you make them nice and stylish and quite almost simple, it keeps them classy, but also for me, I just think it's nicer for a condolence card. But like I say, everybody is different and we all feel differently at different times. But the main thing is don't put pressure on yourself. I'm sure whoever you're sending it to, the fact that you've given time, because that's the one thing. If you've got all the money in the world, you can just go and buy something. But somebody might not appreciate it. They might appreciate something that you've actually spent time making rather than, although I do know I'm going to get some friends suddenly messaging me and going, if you buy me a diamond, I tell you what, I prefer that on one of your cards, which I can understand. But in all seriousness, I do think actually spending time creating something for somebody to know that you've spent time and thought about them, well, it would mean more to me. So I'm just going to give that a wipe. And then I think at the base, what I'll do, so we could leave it like that. Again, it's lovely to have options. Or I'm going to come in with a little bit of the Sahara. And then I'm thinking I'm going to come in with a little bit of the graphite. So if I show you, so that's the card look, but it might be you like that pale there, but I'm thinking I just want some graphite. Now, if it's a new pad, watch out because your graphite, these ink pads, beautifully juicy, fabulous. We get such value for money. Mine are quite, I nearly said old then. They've been used quite a lot. So mine are they've lost a lot of the juiciness. But you do get to know your pads. I've said this before. So there we go. We've got that nice gentle grey. Now, if I want to darken that, what I can do is go to a smaller brush. So I'm going to go for the size 3 brush. And I'll get a darker ink on this brush. Because obviously smaller area. So you get more concentration of the ink. And I just want to darken that edge. Not too much. Just enough to ground it and drag your eye to the base. And this same little little recipe that we're doing here can work the same with any of those stamps. So as I say, when I'm batch card making them for the church, what I tend to do is stamp all my toppers up and then I just start adding the moon mask, the ink, the colour. So next, just going to go for my lovely pastel pencils. And what I'm going to do is just a little, I don't want to add too much to this, just a little bit of highlight with the white look, just on a couple of the bulrushes. Don't want to overcook it. I'm just going to give that a smudge. And then this one, I think I'll just add some little specks. So rather than just the water, I'm just going to add a little bit of Sahara onto my matte look. And then use my paintbrush and just add a few, and it'll just give me a little something in that background. Don't want to overcook it. And again, like I say, you can just do water for faux bleaching if you want. I just wanted a little bit of the colour. Now, as I've said before, if you'd like this as a man's card, maybe add some oranges, some browns, brighten it up. But I think for a condolence, for me, that's just the right amount of colour. So that's one idea. So on to our next one. And I'm thinking, let's use, because we haven't used the trees, let's use the blossom tree. Beautiful stamp this. I have to be honest, I use this a lot at Easter. Great for Easter cards. And that's what I like about these stamps, is that we can use them for lots of different occasions. You know, they're not just sort of one-trick ponies. So I think for this, I'm going to stamp it sort of just slightly off the page. Almost sometimes you condition to stamp it in the middle. And for me, I just think it looks a little bit better just stamped slightly off centre. Now, the trunk is a silhouette, so again, I'm just going to give that ink time to soak in. And we want all that lovely detail. Beautiful. Now, there are little bits. Don't worry, when you stamp this tree, when you look on the acetate, there are little sort of white specks on it. So don't think you've misstamped it there. You've just got some lovely highlights. So once again, we'll give that a blot. And then the same thing, we'll add our moon mask. So what colour? Should we go for purple for this one? I think. We'll mix it up a bit. We'll go for our violet chalk. So where's my... And again, I think we'll put the moon mask just slightly, just catching the edge there. So again, just dabbing it off on my lid. It's so lovely to know that, just to show, I've done a couple of shows recently, and talking to so many of you, you've found just mixing the ink in the lid really helps. So it's so good to know that. Because again, you don't want to come in harsh on these. So again, just tickle gently with, hold your stencil brush. And we're just going to add some lovely purple colour. We want that nice wispy colour. Then I'm just going to move my thumb. And again, gently, gently, nicely tickling. And we'll lift that off. There we go. And look at that. You've just got that lovely subtle. So we have choices here. I'll just bring a little bit of colour in there. We'll give that a wipe and put that away. But what I'm thinking, if we bring our mini hill masks, and I always have these next to me. So let's have a look and make just a little bit of grounding under the... I don't want to look like it's on a mound. Yeah, I think I'll go for that one. I tend to try all the combinations. I think that. So again, I'm just going to start with the ink under the tree. So if it's very dark, at least that makes it look like it's shadow. So each time I ink up, look, I go back under the tree. And then when I've got less ink on, I just want to wispily take a little bit over. Right, that line there is a bit harsh for me. So I'm just going to break that line up a little bit. There we go. And again, I think that's just the right amount of colour. So we'll pop that brush and we'll give this a wipe. Now, this one, I think I'm just going to come in with some water splats. Now, again, you might want to leave it like that. But I'm thinking just a little bit of faux bleaching. And I'm just going to leave that to dry. And what I find about toppers like this, as I say, for me, if, say, I suddenly needed an Easter card, I could come in, maybe brighten the colours up a little bit, add a little bit of glitter, a little bit of colour, and maybe one of our little wild hairs, the mini set. And before you know it, you've got... So these are lovely general toppers to make. And I do think, especially if your mojo's gone, it's nice to have a little session and create these. And actually enjoy creating them, if you know what I mean, rather than doing it when you're feeling quite sad. Hope that makes sense. Sometimes it's difficult. Mind you, know the way my head works, don't you? So we'll create one more. Have you got time? Can you stay for another one? And what we'll do, we'll stamp the forest leaf and we'll stamp it in the morning mist. Rather than just tell you about it, let's create. As I say, if you don't have morning mist, you could always do your second generation with your nocturne. And again, we have choices. I can stamp it off centre, but this one I think we'll stamp right in the middle. And considering this is a lovely sizable stamp, it fits on this 5x3. Now, if you like DL cards, you've always got room underneath to add your sentiment. There we go. Look at that. How beautiful is that? So again, we'll give that a bit of a blot. Now, to colour this, you could leave it like this. You could use your pencils. But I find when I just want a subtle amount of colour, I like to use my Elements ink pads. So I'm thinking Della Blue. And I'm just looking, there it is. And Graphite. And what I tend to do is, with the Della Blue, I tend to hold the lid. And what I'm going to do, I'm using the small brushes, and I'm just going to come in and just add some lovely blue colour. And I almost go in the ink pad and then in my palette. I just hold it in my hand. I find it easier and quicker. And I'm just going to add some lovely blue, look. And it's up to you how dark you want the colour. Again, I'm thinking Condolence, so I don't want it too dark. Just want that nice subtle. With all these, you know, I'm coming in and just showing you the subtle, but if you want to build up more colour and want it nice and rich, it's better to build it up. Because remember that famous saying, you can always add it, but you can't take it away. So spend your time building the colour up rather than going in, getting it too dark and thinking, oh, I'm scuppered now. So I'm going to hold the graphite lid in my hand now, and I've gone for my graphite brush. And now I've got a palette in the lid, look, ready. So I just want to add a little bit of the grey just at the top, look, and down the centre. And if I bring it up, it's only subtle. Can you see the difference between this one with the grey there and that with just the blue? I know you're probably laughing at me thinking, Jo, it's that subtle we can't see it. Especially with pale, it's not easy showing you. So I'll come in, I'll just add a bit darker. So I'm going to come straight from my ink pad with this, just because I want to show you, I want it a bit darker. And I just find this a lovely, quick way of colouring. And this forest leaf stamp is perfect for this. So if I lift that up, can you see how that grey for me just adds that little bit of interest? So let's put the lids on. Make sure we get the lids on the right one. And then if I want to add just a tiny little bit more, I can just come in with my black pastel pencil, look, and just darken the middle bit here, look, and maybe a few veins. And then with a biodegradable cotton bud, or you can use your finger, just going to smudge that a little. And you can take your time just seeing. Now it might be you don't want to emphasise this, again, in which case leave this bit off. I'll just do the top one just to show you. So again, can you see the difference? So like I say, you can take these cards as far, you know, as you want. So if we just have a little recap. I mean, that one's drying beautifully. Look, I'm just going to give it a little bit of a dab now because I think it's dried enough. So that was the faux bleaching. So let's create some space. You know, we're not very good at that. So if we bring in our 2 ones that are mounted, so we've got our lovely weeping willow tree. Beautiful stamp that. If you haven't got it, I do urge you. As I say, it's one of our older ones, but one of my favourites. We've got our beautiful bulrushes. And there you have the bulrushes with some ink over the top. Now, you could use Posca if you wanted, but again, I've got to be honest, I'm just going for the sort of non-sparkly approach. We've got our beautiful, just looking for the other one, bear with me, there it is, our blossom tree look. And again, I think if you haven't got that, that is going to be such a useful stamp. And I'm going to see how many I can get on here. And you know I'm not very good. Our poppy. These are all the backgrounds with the elements. Our meadow grass, and that one's got the water added. And then the forest leaf. So we have, I might have to put that one there. So we have such an array, and I'm sure if you go and look in your stash, you will find even more stamps. And I do urge you to maybe create just a couple of these just to have in the background just in case. Because like I say, they could always, they could be get well cards, they could be thinking of you cards, you know, they could even be just a note card. It's just coming in, you know, just to say hi. And that's nice, just to send somebody a card just because. But if you are one of the ladies that have messaged, and the gentlemen, we've had a couple of gentlemen ask for these as well. I hope this has helped. And do you know what? Have fun making them. And then pop them to one side and then they'll be there. Let's hope you don't need them. But unfortunately, these things happen, don't they? So you take care. Thank you as always for popping in. And guess what? I'll see you again tomorrow. No idea what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'll tell you what, I'll think about it tonight with my cheeky brew and biscuit. Love and hugs from me. Bye for now.